Hey, how's it going? This is your Supply Chain Pro here. In this video, we will cover the top 3 purposes behind the job that you work for. You might ask yourself, why is my employer in business and what are their priorities? I want you to think about your job. Think about the building that you go to every day, or maybe you work from home at a remote workstation. Think about your daily commute and how much of a drag it is. And start asking yourself, why do you go there? What's the purpose? For most of us, our purpose is to earn an income so that we and our families can live off of. The first and foremost obvious purpose of a business is to make money. Period. That's it. You can stop the video. You know all you need to know now and you can move on with our life. Just kidding. Businesses making money with the intended goal of self-preservation of the business is the largest and strongest motivating factor in most companies. Maybe you work for a small private business with the purpose to make the owner an income so that owner can live off of the profit. Maybe you work for a very large and publicly traded company on the stock market, and the owners in this instance are the shareholders of that company. The long-term goal is to make those shareholders happy by stock price appreciation, as well as potentially dividend payments. There are smaller organizations, such as nonprofits, that do exactly what their name says, which is to operate not for financial gain, but to serve a greater philosophical or charitable purpose in society. Nonprofits and charities can come with salaries and wages, and these nonprofits or charities can also be supported through volunteers without payment. Finally, the last type of employment is with the government. The thing that is unique about a government job is that this is the business model that is least likely to be built on self-preservation of its finances. There is a perception that tax dollars will continue to roll in whether the government department is profitable or not. Regardless of if the performance is good, poor, or mediocre, taxes will still be paid and funds will still be found for the department. A company's finances are just like your personal home's finances. Let's say you have an income of $60,000 a year, and that means $5,000 a month. Now your home budget looks very similar to a company's budget. Your income is what a company would call its revenue, or that's money coming in before expenses are paid. Now at your home, you have to pay taxes on your income the same as a company. You have a house that has a mortgage just like a company, has to pay for its buildings and others' facilities. You have a water bill, an electric bill, a gas bill, the same as a company. And maybe there are some hobbies that you have that you can't go without, like maybe you have too many streaming services since you like to watch movies on Netflix or Disney Plus or whichever platform, and those platforms all have a cost that comes out of your home's finances. You have to buy food to sustain yourself and your family, and maybe you want to go to a sporting event or a local concert every now and then. All of these things hit your home's finances and are subtracted from your $5,000 a month income that you earn from your job. At the end of the month, if you bring in $5,000 and spend $4,000 of that on your expenses, you have $1,000 left over. The company in the business world calls this the monthly profit. Let's say that you spend $6,000, but only bring in the $5,000 each month. You have a $1,000 deficit for that month. In this instance, you are spending more money than you have, and in order to do this, you're likely dipping into credit or your savings, or you're using an alternative way to pay more than you brought in. You can do this for a month or 2 or 3 in the short term, but the long-term spending more than you make is unsustainable, and you will eventually run into issues with your home's finances. Now take this principle and apply it to a company. A company that has a profit each month is likely to sustain itself as long as they can continue making that profit each month. A company that spends more than it makes eventually will go bankrupt and close because they will run out of options, whether they reach their credit limit, run out of savings, or cannot continue to sell any more of their assets. Paying employees their daily wages are no different from a company's perspective than a utility bill in your home. Employees are necessary to complete whatever service needs to be done for the company so that it can earn its revenue. The second largest purpose of a business is to solve a problem for an end consumer in a way that they can monetize. Let's take Henry Ford and the automobile, for example. Before automobiles existed, we lived in a horse and buggy society where it might take all day to travel 10 to 15 miles to town to do your business and then come back and travel 10 to 15 miles home. The invention of the automobile as we know it today in modern society has dropped the 10 to 15 mile horse ride with a buggy or a cart to a 15 or 20 minute car ride one way. This drastically decreased the amount of time needed for transportation and thus gave the end consumer more of their time back in their life by traveling faster. Why automobiles continue to exist on the roads today is because Henry Ford solved a problem so that the modern person is willing to pay to buy a car so they can obtain this benefit of more available free time. Your employer likely exists to solve some problem in the world. Maybe you work at a dentist's office cleaning teeth, saving gums, or performing root canal dental work, for example. This solves a health problem that every person in the world has in keeping their teeth healthy. Maybe you work at an auto repair shop fixing, maintaining, repairing, and replacing components on the cars that Henry Ford invented that a majority of people use to shrink down travel time in their lives. Without the auto repair shop, cars on the roads would fall into disrepair, break down, and would have to be replaced at an unreasonable and unsustainable frequency. Maybe you work in one of the segments of the supply chain. The purpose of the supply chain is to make, manufacture, move, store, and eventually present a product to an end consumer. Your employer may do just one segment of the supply chain, or they may do multiple parts of the supply chain. Your Supply Chain Pro's background is working in warehousing where we receive shipment from a carrier, inbound the product, store the product, and eventually ship the product in whatever ways the owner or the consumer desire it shipped. This storage service that a warehouse provides could be for as little as 3 hours, or I have seen some products sit in a warehouse for years or even decades if that product is not a perishable item, such as a packaged toy, for example. Warehouses solve the problem of space when some companies don't have a reasonable solution on their own to do so. There can be a required labor component to load and unload the product that some smaller businesses just don't have the time or the appropriate amount of hands to do the job. Sometimes there is required capital, such as used to buy a forklift to increase product moving productivity compared to moving product manually with your hands. Or maybe there's large scale of packaging materials that are needed to safely ship the product. Warehouses can offer solutions to all of these problems for a company. Successful warehouses find better and more efficient ways to solve their customers' problems. Over time, they can pass those financial benefits through their company and on to their owners as well as to their customers. The third and less frequent purpose of employment is filling a need in your community. You will oftentimes see nonprofits or charities filling this role. Nonprofits and charities solve the problem or achieve a goal without financial profit. This is very philosophical and intrinsically motivated and a worthy cause. This is not always practical for individuals who need to support their families, for example. After-school clubs for at-risk teens are a common nonprofit organization that exists with the goal of improving opportunities for the teenagers in the local vicinity. There are nonprofits in the supply chain industry like a food bank or a Toys for Tots type of organization that collect donations, stores them in their facilities, and distributes them to those who are less fortunate and are in need. Like, comment, and subscribe if you found this information useful or if you have additional insight on this topic that was not covered in today's video. This is your Supply Chain Pro, out.